Welcome to the virtual take a seat.
Here's Sid.
Popular's emotional maturity and popular's
Okay, you ready? Sid? Hey, it's going? Wait, what's going? Look at that.
you don't know.
I look like the weekend's younger brother, like the weekday or the mid-afternoon.
Yeah, you guys, we're going, by the way.
Hey, we're live right now.
Can you guys mute the Super Bowl?
Oh yeah, can you turn that? It's a dud anyway. Okay, we're gonna close these. Right?
You look so
Oh, look at that.
crazy.
Do you want to close these, Sid?
Yeah, did you guys start?
Yeah.
TikTok, but not Instagram.
Okay.
There's all she's gonna watch that. Oh. What are we talking about today?
I got all kinds of things to talk about today. And do we have questions left over from last time? And Sid, I'll go back to the document that we used last time. Notes to Sid, right? Okay. Oh, we finished, I think, those. So, hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. I guess we'll wait for Instagram. Mackie, what did you think about the Super Bowl?
Loved every second of it.
No, we
I'm
were
actually
watching
shocked.
it. Yeah.
I mean, I don't really know much or care much, but I'm surprised that that's how it went down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought the halftime show was dumb.
Did you now? Hot take. I just asked Sydney if she knew who Kendrick Lamar was. Sid's a fan,
I
right?
thought you liked, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
Did you watch it?
no, I didn't even know that was today.
It's kind of
Okay.
dumb.
I thought it wasn't bad. I felt like an old man that didn't really know what was going on.
I mean, maybe it's just because I'm old now.
Yeah, you are.
Okay.
You're quite old. Have you been? What's your music genre? What do you like?
I guess just pop. I don't know.
Okay, pop, like K-pop.
Absolutely not.
No. All right. Maybe as a warm up. Welcome everybody. My name is Tony. It's my daughter, McKinley Mackie.
Don't call me that.
And don't call you that. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but tonight I am not giving. I'm supposed to say I'm not giving therapeutic advice.
Oh.
Or I guess no, I'm giving therapeutic. I can give advice.
This isn't live therapy.
But I am not doing live therapy. But we want all of your questions, whether on Instagram or on TikTok, your relationship questions, anything about mental health. Sydney is behind the scenes producing. Say hi, Sid.
Hi.
Hey guys.
Okay. And we got Mackie here, and we want all your questions. I have things that I would like to talk about tonight. There's a couple things. Number one, I think we can talk about the tiny little elephant in the room, but the butterfly stitches that I have on my cheek.
On your cheek.
Because we can talk about the movie that we went and saw, because we had some hot takes on the movie too, which I think was kind of fun. So, story time. I want to know what it looked like from your angle, though, because I still don't really know what happened. My cheek.
Oh, I barely saw any of it.
Okay, so we go to the movies, and the movie theater that we go to has a deal where for whatever the ticket costs, you can pay $5 more. You can get a $10 arcade card, and yes, I am still like a teenage boy when it comes to arcades.
That's a big deal for you.
It's a really big
Couldn't
deal,
turn that
and there
down.
wasn't somebody there at the ticket counter to give you the $10 for $5 card. And this is where I jokingly said, if we want to learn about gaslighting, I can blame it on your mom, because then Wendy just said, well, what if they won't give us the card after? So then I said, oh, okay, I'll go out there right now. And I went out, and I finally tracked somebody down, and they gave me the card, and I was very happy with myself. And I go walking in the theater, and it takes a minute for your eyes to get adjusted. It's not like excuses.
Because it doesn't.
Maybe that's an old man thing.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, no, because to set the scene, a young girl did it right before you.
Yeah, so what I'm about to confess, apparently it happened right before.
Yeah.
Here's why. So when you're booking a ticket at this theater, it looks like there's a row that goes on both sides of the seats. Clearly, I will
Like
I will
most
say that.
theaters, yeah.
Like most theaters. And as a matter of fact, that's why I got the seats we did, because when we sat there, your mom said, why'd you get these seats? Because in my mind, I got an end seat, an aisle seat,
With stairs right
with
next
stairs,
to it.
and so then when I came into the theater, I'm holding my cards. I think I was going to try to crack a joke about I did it or something, and then I noticed that there were people in our row.
Mm-hmm.
So then I couldn't crack my joke, because when I left, nobody was in the theater. I thought that was going to be funny, and then there were people in the row, so I didn't want to have to go in front of them. So I thought I'll walk over and go up the aisle, which did not exist. So I just walked.
So you smacked your head into a wall.
So hard, and it rattled me bad, and it did. And so, and the worst part is, I haven't even talked about this much, but it looks like I'm gonna need some surgery on something in my neck. So I've got some pain often right now, and it's in my neck, and it's also down my arm. And so when I ran into that wall and I hit it hard, it kind of just, I was dazed. And so, but I also was trying to hold it cool, like that. Yeah, that's no big deal. But I hit it hard, huh?
I don't know.
Oh, I thought you saw it. Oh, okay.
I saw you bounce off the wall.
Okay, well, that's probably pretty hard then. Yeah.
I guess.
And so then by the time I walk up there, you guys are dying laughing. I could have lost an eye, and you guys would have been so laughing so hard I would have to go deal with it on myself.
Into a wall.
Yeah, but there was no compassion. There was
It would
no.
look cooler if it was like over your eye.
Oh my gosh. But then we're sitting there, and I am trying to be my best self, and because that would have been very funny, and that's the thing that Mom and I have joked about for a long time.
That's if it was me, you would have been laughing. That's the thing.
I would have been very concerned.
No, you would have been
Early in my marriage, I was in college still, and I had this final to take the next day, and Mom and I were like, she was chasing me around the house kind of a thing, and I didn't have shoes on, and I caught my pinky toe on like a table ledge, and it just snapped the toe sideways, and I had my sock on, and she was dying laughing, and then when I pulled my sock off and my toe was that way, it was kind of funny. So, but then there have been other times where maybe I've hurt myself, and I thought, okay, well, that's not very nice to laugh, but it is very funny. But then I'm sitting there, and then she just says, "What's on your cheek?" And then I reach up there, and it's like a bad horror movie, and my hand's got blood all over it. And so then I couldn't get it to stop bleeding, and then we get home, and it's still bleeding, and so she put a butterfly stitch or Band-Aid on there. Really
Now
embarrassing.
you look so cool.
Do I? I was trying to think of, is the Weeknd is the one that puts the Band-Aid on his nose and stuff?
No. What?
Well,
Yeah,
for one of
yeah,
his
yeah, he did.
one album or whatever.
Yeah, so I'm like
he had
the-
like the fake plastic surgery looking face, you know?
Yeah. See, look at how hip I am.
I don't like the weekend.
So I'm like the weekday afternoon. That's what I am with this thing on, right?
That's your joke for it.
It's a dad joke. That is. But the movie that we were seeing, it was Companion. Mm-hmm. Your take. Hot take. Oh, spoiler alert if we're going to talk about this. Because you went in not knowing anything about it. When I went in the first time, I didn't know anything about it. And that's very important to know.
Well, I feel like we can't even talk about it because it'll spoil the whole thing.
Okay, that's fair. We got to give it a couple more weeks, then we'll talk
Yeah.
about it. Okay.
Because it's an immediate spoil.
Yeah, it would be an immediate spoiler. But there are some things about relationships. I could give
There's some underlying,
themes.
Underlying themes.
Yeah. One of them just is that you give everything for your partner, as if that is like a good thing. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times early in relationships, people do say, I just want to make you happy. I want to do whatever it takes to make you happy. Mm-hmm. And
you lose yourself.
You lose yourself.
In doing that.
Yeah. And that's a normal part of a relationship. And this is where I think we all go into relationships and we're kind of naturally codependent and we're enmeshed together. And then when you start to try to do things for yourself, then it will often, the other person will then think, well, wait, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Why aren't you basically caretaking me? And then if you're that pathologically kind person, then you often will say, okay, I'll give up myself and I'll go make sure that he or she is happy. And then, but I'll get back to myself later. But then at that point, we just
never happens.
Yeah, I keep kicking the can down the road. And so there's a version, I think I was telling you, Mom, on the way home in the car, that the healthier version of that is I choose me first to take care of myself, self-care. It's not selfish, so that I can then love you. It's that if I don't love myself, then I can't fully love you, because if I don't love myself, then I'm trying to figure out, well, how do I do this so that you will love me? And so I'm not being myself, and I'm putting the power into someone else's hands, and then that person, if they're not, I don't know, if they're not the most thoughtful, kind, empathetic person, then they over time really start to take advantage of what you're doing to make themselves feel better, and it just becomes this endless cycle of you giving up yourself and them using you to make them feel better. Your thoughts?
You nailed it. I mean, yeah, that's it. That's how it goes. They're done that.
They're done that. What do you think, though, about the self-care isn't selfish thing? Because I think people struggle with that.
I think initially I struggled with it too, because if you take it too, I don't want to say if you take it too far, because I don't want to say that self-care is a bad thing, mm-hmm. but if you take it to an extent where you're completely neglecting everyone you care about just for yourself, I think there is some negativity
like a selfish version?
You know? Yeah. But I think that I think for the most part, it's not selfish, and it should be encouraged, and everyone probably needs more self-care.
Yeah.
in their life.
I would love it if, yes, Sid.
What helped me understand that, more for myself, is if you can only show up for other people if you show up for yourself first. So it's everyone should be selfish to an extent.
Yeah.
And that is a way to also be there for other people. Because if you're not the best version of yourself, you're not going to be able to help other people.
Right. But
so I guess, yeah, if you're then still showing up for people, I think it's good. But if you take it so far that then you push away any human contact ever because you're
you start
so
to isolate.
far into that, then I think it's not beneficial anymore.
Yeah.
But if you are using it to heal yourself or better yourself and show up for people, then I'm for it.
Yeah. And then the problem is, if you are struggling to do that, most likely you weren't modeled that in your childhood by your parents, or you're in a relationship where you aren't given enough space or room to be able to try to engage in self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And which is that's a red flag right there if your partner is not encouraging you to have self-care time. Yeah.
Which then the bold performance horses said, and I don't think self-care is buying coffee and getting nails done when it's out of our budget.
Yeah, good call.
So
I think so. What I like about that one, I think self-care can start with just starting to allow yourself to think or dream or believe or hope. Because so often it go back into what your implicit memory is, or what it feels like to be you or me or Sid, or it's based off of the slow residue of your lived experience. So if you're continually down and worried and ruminating and anxious and beating yourself up and what did I do wrong, then over time that's what it feels like to be you. So self-care can be as much as watching a live with two people that are encouraging you to do self-care. And it can be reading a book for a little bit, or it can be just thinking about what you would like to do. Even if your yeah buts come right in and say, yeah, but that would never work. Okay, but at least let's start thinking about it. So I like what they're saying.
Right, it doesn't have to be some
It doesn't have to be the mani-pedi running a marathon or that sort of thing.
There are ways to do it without spending money.
Yes. Okay, so here's a hot take. Are you ready? Okay. So this article that I really like, and it's by a psychologist named Eleanor Greenberg, and it's called "The Truth About Narcissistic Personality Disorder." And I will own this every day of the week that I took part of what Eleanor says about a particular kind of narcissism, and I've co-opted it and put my own spin on it because I think this is really interesting. She just says that normal versus pathological narcissism. So first of all, can you even imagine the concept of normal narcissism in today's society? That somebody's using it as normal narcissism. That is not looked at as bad. Look at your face.
I just don't even understand it.
Well, here's why. So she says, unfortunately, in the English language, the word narcissism has come to mean two entirely different things, depending on whether it's being used formally as a diagnosis, as a narcissistic personality disorder, or informally as a synonym for positive self-regard. Have you ever heard of narcissism used as a synonym for positive self-regard?
Are there people running around being like, oh, that's so narcissistic of me? And it's like...
And they say, why, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, there are the ones that would probably say that, but they're actually the real narcissists. So then she just says, I know, she says, I'm often asked, isn't a little bit of narcissism healthy and normal? And so here's what I like that she says, though, and this is the part that I co-opted. So she says normal, healthy narcissism, and this is where I will go ahead and say, thank you, Eleanor, for your wonderful work, and I'm going to call it normal, healthy ego. So, and this is where I go with this.
Well, because I was going to say, there's pride, or there's things like that are confidence that's allowed, but I don't think you'd go as far as
so listen, and this is what I think, I would love your thoughts on this, because when I say I'm going to step into my healthy ego, it can often sound actually pretty narcissistic. But here's what she says, and I think it's great. She says, normal, healthy narcissism, so I'll say normal, healthy ego, is a realistic sense of positive self-regard that's based on the person's actual accomplishments. It is relatively stable because the person has assimilated it into their self-image, the successes that came as a result of their actual hard work to overcome real-life obstacles. So she's saying that because normal, healthy, what I'll say, ego is based on real achievements, then it's impervious to the minor slights and setbacks that we all experience as we go through life. So she says normal, again, I'll call healthy ego, causes us to care about ourselves, do things that are in our self-interest, and is associated with genuine self-respect. One can think of it as something that's inside of us. So if you think of it that way, it is when you do things and you learn new talents or skills, or you help someone, or you build something, or you develop something, then that I think it should, and this is the healthy version of shooting on someone, it should cause you to feel a sense of positive self-regard. So that's the concept of healthy ego, or what she said used to be known as healthy narcissism. is that it's built off of the things that you do that you feel confident about. And here's, I don't know, any thoughts? And then I've got a hot, the second part of this will make sense as well.
No,
Okay.
I'm following.
Okay, so here's where it makes sense. Now the opposite, she says, of normal healthy narcissism. So I'll say the opposite of a healthy ego is pathological defensive narcissism. This is the one that we're familiar with.
Okay.
So she says this is a defense against feelings of inferiority. The person dons a mask of arrogant superiority in an attempt to convince the world that they are special. But inside, the person feels very insecure about their actual self-worth. So when you really start looking at the insecurity of a real narcissist, so she says this facade of superiority is so thin, it's like a helium balloon. One small pinprick will deflate it. So this makes the person hypersensitive to minor slights that somebody with healthy narcissism, so healthy ego, would not even notice. Instead, somebody with this type of defensive narcissism is easily wounded, takes any form of disagreement as criticism, and then is likely to lash out and devalue anybody that disagrees with them. They're constantly on guard trying to protect their status. So she says pathological narcissism can be thought of a protective armor that's on the outside of somebody. So when I think back to the time that I was in 10 years in the computer industry before I became a therapist, I think I was more of this, I had more of that pathological defensive narcissism because I didn't know what I didn't know. And so then I pretended that I knew things, and those around me that actually knew them knew that I was blowing smoke. I was going to say full of garbage, right?
Whoa.
And so then if somebody then said, you don't know what you're talking about, then I would say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. But then once I found the second career 20 years ago, therapy, and I love it, everything about it. And so if I go back to that concept of healthy ego, that it's based on your actual accomplishments and it's stable because you've assimilated it into your self-image. So every time I'm reading something or I really learn about acceptance and commitment therapy or stages of faith or emotionally focused therapy, or I know those, I feel confident about those. So then if somebody says I disagree with you, I can sit in that healthy ego and say, tell me more. But if I don't really know what I'm talking about, then my insecurity or my immaturity is going to lash out and say, yes, I do. You don't know what you're talking about. You see where I'm going with that? Yeah.
And there's no curiosity there. And
No
it's just
curiosity.
like, I know better than
It's
you.
very defensive. And that's where I feel like the ego of the narcissist, it is just paper thin. And so if you have an opinion that is different from theirs, then they think, oh, you're telling me that I'm wrong and that you're right, and now they must...
Like black and white.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's where the pathological defensive narcissism comes in. And then what's cool about having that healthy ego is the more that you admit the things that you know, and you are going to also acknowledge the things that you don't know.
I forgot to check the sound.
Okay. So at that point, though, the more that you're telling someone and they're saying, what do you think about something? And if you say, oh, I really don't know, but then they're going to trust that when you say, I do know this, they can trust you, or they can rely on that. So if you're in a relationship with somebody, and if you always have an opinion about everything and you think that you know, then over time your partner, your spouse is going to think, okay, I can't trust this person.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. We have questions?
Yeah, we have a few.
Okay, let's do it.
We hit some.
Okay.
Okay, Jessica said, I feel like I drift away from the person who I want to be and then have to fight to get it back. I feel
That's
like
a
right
really
off the bat, that's probably very normal.
Yeah, it's super
Like,
normal. It's
probably,
a really beautiful way to say it too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would guess that's...
I would love if
That's
Jessica's,
kind of-
if you can give any examples
Yeah.
too, that would be great. I would love to hear those.
I feel like that's part of the thing where when you are growing, it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And you feel maybe off or you feel weird because you are changing and growing. And so it's like, I get it's kind of a drawback. Like,
Yeah.
It's hard to push past that.
Well, and then picture too, if
Part.
you're in a relationship with somebody that is not doing their own work, and let's say all of a sudden you say, I'm going to start going to the gym, or I want to run a 5K or a half marathon, and if your partner is not working on themselves,
Yeah.
then I think that's where, then will they be supportive, or will they say, like, well, who do you think you are all of a sudden? And then make you feel small, and put you down, and then you start to say, okay, I don't even know if it's worth it to pursue this kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine I feel like I felt that. So
Yeah.
like that's normal. Shia or Shaya, not sure. I'm scared I'm the only unlovable person in this world. Girls tell me I'm ugly.
Oh, okay, those girls are
Yeah,
immature.
we don't want those girls then.
No,
That's
if
a them thing.
that is a
That's
them
their
thing.
own problem and
Yeah.
that's not on you.
You know what stinks about that too is let's talk about that. I got a theory here too. So in almost any group, family system that's immature, we'll put it that way. And I think most, let's say a group of, I don't know if they're teenage girls or how old they are, but they almost need a scapegoat to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
So
it's projecting insecurity onto someone else.
Yeah, and it's almost like everybody gangs up and says, well, at least we are better than this one person. And so if that person...
And they'll keep doubling down on that to make themselves feel better.
Yeah.
But it's not a reflection on that person.
No, it's a reflection on their immaturity. And then if you leave that group, which is not a bad thing, to go find friends that will treat you better.
See your value and your worth.
They will find a new scapegoat, which is the fascinating thing. So that's where I want you to know it's not a you thing. And here's something that I have no research to back up, but I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm convinced that the scapegoat in a family or the scapegoat in a group eventually becomes the transformational character. Meaning that if you're still in that narcissistic family system or group, then you're still fighting and vying to get validation. So you're willing to sell yourself out. You're willing to not stand up for someone else in the group. And that will cause you to further be viewed as the scapegoat. So at some point, the scapegoat recognizes that I'm not going to get my validation here. And now they have to go out on their own hero's journey. And that's where I believe that they will become the transformational figure. They're the ones that have the best chance to figure things out. Because the people that are stuck in that narcissistic family system are all just vying for validation and attention. And it's all based out of their insecurity. I know, I've never put that one out there before.
So it's like, know that it's not you. And that if anything...
You've got the best chance.
This is giving you an opportunity to do better things and to grow and change and basically kind of show those people that they're wrong.
But I know it's so easy to say that if somebody's saying that you're ugly or you're not attractive or that it's easy to say, oh, just find new friends. So I know that, I mean, we've talked about this. I know that it's not that easy to do that.
No, it's not.
But this is one of those things where, like we talked about earlier, planting this in your implicit memory, or what it feels like to be you, of just hearing us say that you do not deserve that. They are immature and insecure.
And
that
is
a them issue.
That bottom line, you are so lovable.
You are, and there are people out there.
Because you exist. That's as simple as it is.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is your journey now to find those people that you really connect with. Because it's funny, when we find friendships when we're young, and those are the friendships that often, they're often the ones that we think are defining us. It's because we geographically live around people. And so then we go on a bus and go to the same school, and so I guess we're friends. But we don't even necessarily have the same interests and the same values and the same likes and dislikes. And little kids by nature are little narcissists walking around all egotistical and everything is about them. So they lack the ability to really be curious or have empathy about others. So one of the best things that you can do, I think, is when you get into high school or you get into college, you find groups and clubs that you really like. You find like-minded people that will be they will reciprocate the friendships and your relationships.
And that will see you for who you are.
See you for who you are.
And not use you to project their own
insecurities. Because that's the problem, is that if you're finding people that they're like-minded with like interest, like-minded is a stretch too, because that could even be maybe a little culty, you know? but I think
not in a scary way.
No, similar interests though, then you can, it's easier to be yourself because you're having these shared experiences. You kind of speak the same lingo, that sort of thing. Yeah, so thank you for asking that.
Thank you so much. You have no idea how many lives you touch.
Oh, that's nice.
That's tender. And then someone said I was the scapegoat my entire life. It wasn't until I started therapy and the healing journey.
Thank you. Okay.
There's a couple more.
And
wait, that one gave me the chills for some reason.
And then somewhat convinced my family they were in the wrong. Things are getting better.
Okay. Good for you.
Good for you for taking the steps to do the healing and not just accept the situation.
Okay, now I'm picturing some merch that I'll announce and never follow through on. Something about Scapegoats Unite or something like that. Because, Sid, you had something. Look how happy Olive the dog looks right now.
We have some questions.
There's questions that you guys
Okay, going back a little bit, Bree, is BPD bipolar or?
Borderline.
Borderline. Okay, can you have borderline personality disorder and not turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms?
It's a great question. Let me see.
Does that mean not do poopy behavior?
No.
Oh.
No.
No, not do things that will harm
I got it.
you.
Yeah. When you edit this on YouTube, can you do put a little bell sound in there ding ding, when you got that? That was cool to watch this year. Okay. So it's a great question. So just like when I'm talking about narcissistic personality disorder, I believe that the people that would fit into the true narcissistic personality disorder category, the belief is 3 to 5%. That's pretty small. But then I say we're all emotionally immature. So that we have these narcissistic traits or tendencies, but then when we're aware of them, we can grow and we can move past them. So I think the same thing is with borderline or histrionic or antisocial personality disorder. They're all in the same cluster of personality disorders. So the person that's struggling with borderline personality disorder, I just think so often they are unseen, unloved, unheard, unsupported. And so the siren song of the borderline, there's a book that most therapists have called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. And so it is those extremes. But I've worked with enough people, and I am going to try to interject a little bit of hope there, because if it's true borderline personality disorder, I would doubt that you're here and you're asking that question, because that means you're aware and you're working on it. I'm saying that like you are amazing that you are here saying, hey, if I have borderline, is it this way? I would imagine you have borderline traits and tendencies because you're trying to improve and get better.
And you're trying to take your own control in the situation and not just fall into what maybe is typically like the stigma of it almost, or like,
Totally.
because you don't have to do what everyone else does just because you've been diagnosed or categorized into something,
I think that's a great word, because I think so often it's categorized and people haven't necessarily gone and got a diagnosis.
But that doesn't define every action of your life from here on out.
So if
or
you're
how you have to cope.
No. So if you're turning to those unhealthy coping mechanisms, I would really check in on, look at do you feel connected with your family or your parents, or are you in a healthy relationship? Or this goes back to the work that I do with people that are struggling with addiction. I always start from a place of people are turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms, and I've got these 5 voids I talk about where they don't feel connected in their marriage or their relationship. If they're a parent, they don't feel connected with their kids or how to parent, or their faith, their health, and their career. And those could even be school, health, but those things are the things that when people don't feel connected in those areas, they often turn to the unhealthy coping mechanism.
Yeah.
So I like to acknowledge that, okay, we're gonna start working on, where do you find connection? Where do you find community? Where do you feel like you are seen or understood? And I find that a lot of people that struggle with borderline traits and tendencies are often, they're in relationships, whether it's in the family or in their personal relationships, where someone is basically telling them that, hey, this is you're acting out, you're immature, you're borderline, and then that person's having to defend something that they might even believe is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is where I would love for you to do a deep dive on, find my Virtual Couch podcast and look up anything that is my name, Virtual Couch, and Acceptance and Commitment Therapy, because one of the best places you can start is that you're not broken and you're human. Right. And so you feel and think the way you do because you do. And when other people are telling you how you're supposed to think and feel, that is a them thing, right? And so start to find the things that really make you feel like a sense of purpose and value, and know that even when you're starting to do those, it isn't like everybody around you is going to jump up and cheer, because most likely they're going to not be as supportive as they need to be. So that's hard to then take all that on yourself, but that's one of the best things that you can do.
Okay, going back to, I don't know if it's Shay or Shy, I'm so sorry, but I like your post on HSP. I'm a boy with HSP, and it's very embarrassing. I just want to say, no, it's not.
No, it's pretty cool.
Not to tell you you're wrong.
Wait, we just told him he was wrong. How dare you feel the way you do, HSP, Shay?
All I mean is feeling things big is such an incredible thing, and I genuinely think if everyone in the world could feel big, like feel things big and be aware of other people, things would not suck so bad all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a good trait, and it's such a beautiful thing to be able to feel things fully, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're wrong for saying that or feeling that, but it's something that can be embraced fully and, like, sets you up for deeper connection and a more meaningful life, and the ability to empathize and show up for people and show up for yourself, and just be more aware of everything around you. So it's not a bad thing, and it's not something to be embarrassed about.
Yeah, but we hear you if you are feeling embarrassed.
Because I felt that initially. We talked about this in the last
one.
And I initially, like, when I've been told my feelings are too much. I've been told it's, like, a lot to deal with or things like that. And so it definitely started out as a negative thing and started out as something that did feel like, okay, something's wrong with me. I'm too much. This is a bad thing. But you have the power to kind of shift that mindset and view it as something that can be so good and healing and helpful.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all I got.
Oh, it's so good. So actually, I'm recording a podcast tomorrow where I'm going deep in the comments on the video that I think got the most views on Instagram and Reels or Instagram and TikTok over the last couple of weeks about HSP. That there were a lot of people that felt so seen and understood, and there were others that just I almost like called them in my mind drive-by comments where they're just saying it's autism, or it's you're
dismissing it, basically.
Yeah, and so I've got so much. I have to tell you, I talked to Sydney, I would call you my producer. She's saying, hey, old man, get the thing recorded. And I can't stop writing about it. But so here's just a little sneak preview from the notes that I'm recording tomorrow. And it goes back to Elaine Aron, who first researched high sensitivity back in 1991. She found that being, again, highly sensitive, it's not a disorder, it's a natural trait. And there's a big distinction there. So if you look at a personality disorder, that's why the significance of when I say that narcissistic personality disorder is 3 to 5% of the population, because it's a disorder view of personality. But if you look at something that's a trait, so highly sensitive person is thought to be between 15 and 20% of the population, and it's through 100 different species in nature. So they find these little super highly sensitive fruit flies. I mean, those guys got to be adorable, right? But here's what I got for tomorrow, though, that I think is that it says, I really think that then if you see that widespread presence, then it suggests that being highly sensitive, honestly, must serve a very important evolutionary purpose, or it would not be around at this point with those high of numbers. So it might not feel like an advantage right now, especially when you feel overwhelmed. But I think a lot of times it goes back to if you find yourself in a healthy relationship with somebody that appreciates that sensitivity, then it really does become, cliche alert here, a superpower. Because if you identify that something it serves an evolutionary purpose, then there's some sort of survival advantage that is in that trait, which I think is really fascinating. So when in my notes I jotted down, so in the case of having a high sensitivity, if you have some members of the population who are more attuned to these subtle changes in the environment, then it benefits the whole group. It's just that you've got a bunch of, I was going to say jerks or whatever, that are in charge of the group that aren't willing to look or listen to the highly sensitive people. So I found some cool data that said way back in the day, it was like having these natural scouts or it was like having early warning systems within the population. So HSPs tended to notice very subtle changes in weather patterns, potential dangers, social dynamics before others did. And in ancient times, then the HSPs' heightened awareness helped communities prepare for threats or where others might have, just not seen things until it was too late. And I looked into the animal kingdom, and HSPs would even notice subtle changes in animal behavior, suggesting an approaching storm. I mean, all this stuff that's real, the shift in the barometric pressure or pickup in tension in a neighboring group before some conflict erupts, or the deeper processing of these emotional cues of the HSP can give you or group more time to prepare or adapt. And so it was viewed as it was awesome back in the early days. So I think we've done a horrible job of valuing the HSP.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Is HSP due to something from infancy or early childhood?
Yes.
Would you care to say more about that?
So that is one that I liked. There's some really good comments. There are really good comments in the comments of one of the videos in particular that just talked about there's just continuing information coming out. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'm not a neurologist, a neuroscientist, but I had always been told that it was more about the heightened mirror neurons, reading the room when you were a little kid. If you're having to manage your parents' emotions, if you're used to tension, and so your cortisol response is high and your fight or flight response, you're right on the edge. So you just become very good at noticing subtle changes. But then you can also find some data that says that but it's this, you have to have the genetic predisposition for that, and then find yourself in that position to unlock your epigenetics profile to then be highly sensitive, because you can also find brothers, sisters that grew up in a family where one of them is highly sensitive and the other one is just not.
So there is more to
Yeah,
it,
so I think there's a lot of variables there too.
Okay.
Yeah. But here, okay, can I say this? So this is the thing that I don't want to say. I mean, here, look, this is how mad I get. Oh man, I'm frustrated. So I can't say that.
Calm down, please.
I gotta chill, right? But what I didn't appreciate in the comments, and I took very great exception, but were these drive-by just passive-aggressive comments that then dismissed the highly sensitive person.
Yeah.
So I came up with something that I put there in the comments, and I said, forgive the copy and paste answer. See, I still wanted to be nice. But I said it's just too easy for somebody to simply say HSP and ASD, autism spectrum disorder, are one and the same. So I said, here's what I will share with every comment that says they are. First of all, I appreciate you taking the time to comment. So I'm still going to be a gentleman. But then I said, I have an episode coming out about this later this week, but there are so many differences. There are so many differences between HSP and somebody that has autism spectrum disorder. So stay tuned for more. But here's the key, that there's so many that people who aren't HSP can easily put them in the same bucket, and then they just move on. That's why I called it like this drive-by comment. Mm-hmm. So it's like somebody yelling out the window, you're autistic, and then they just drive away. And the person that's highly sensitive is like, wait, am I?
Yeah.
Now I gotta go figure that out. And so you drop this bomb, then you run away and right? Away. Yeah. So I said it's so much easier for the person that is not highly sensitive to do that than for them to actually have to understand the differences and to learn something that they don't even know that they don't know. Because now we're back into my world of emotional immaturity, where it's like, well, I know what it is, even though I'm not HSP. That's one of the most ridiculous things, I think, when you really break it down. When somebody says, well, I don't, if somebody says, I don't even think it's a real thing, that should not even elicit a response.
No.
Right? But then if you say it to the highly sensitive person, that's the person that's going to feel like, oh man, I need to, again, I'm going to go on some month-long deep dive to see if that guy might be right. That guy's a jerk, right?
Like, don't even entertain it.
No, so stay tuned. The episode I have, I think currently my notes are, if I'm looking at this, 23 pages. So I'm going to have to trim that thing down a little bit. But I have so much and so many examples coming. So thank you for that comment. Okay,
Dennis said, isn't it the same with, is NPD narcissist?
Yeah.
Or whatever. Many variables.
Yeah.
Just the childhood thing.
Yeah.
Dennis.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Dennis, thank you. Yeah, so it's on a spectrum. And that's where I know for a fact that I had narcissistic traits and tendencies or extreme emotional immaturity. And please go binge Waking Up to Narcissism, the podcast, because early on, that's where I wanted to make the clear distinction that about narcissistic personality disorder, small percentage, but we're all emotionally immature until we're not. So we have to, but that takes sitting with discomfort, self-confrontation, not throwing out these drive-by comments and somebody's video, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Hey, this might be me being highly sensitive.
Okay.
But I feel like their intentions could just be like, if they have autism, then they don't want someone to like be getting misdiagnosed. You know, it's like,
oh, you're nice.
Like, they don't know what they don't know. So
yeah.
Like, even if it seems like maybe like aggressive to you, that could totally not be their intention.
That's fair. That is very fair. I hope everybody could hear that. So Sid's saying that maybe somebody who is on the autism spectrum is saying, wait, say it again?
Like, who's this guy saying all this hoopla when, like, this person has autism and now they're going to be misdiagnosed?
Yeah,
you know,
so they're worried.
I think it comes from a place of empathy, but it's not being displayed correct.
Yeah, that's really funny. That's true, because if I just see the word autism in all caps, then I'm not looking at it like that person saying, oh, don't misdiagnose this person, they might be autistic. I see it like, wrong.
Same.
You're wrong.
But which is a me thing.
Yeah.
And I like what you're saying, Sid, because, again, we go back to, we do project the way that we think onto everyone else, because everybody else must think this way as well.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mike last night about that, about people that get scammed, and it's like you just assume that everybody's not going to scam people, because if you're not going to scam somebody, but then that person is doing the same thing, they're like, well, we would all do it if we could. So it's a battle of projections.
Sorry, I'm
say,
trying to
that's
find.
A great
yeah,
comment,
that's such a good one. I'm trying to
thanks,
find.
Man.
We need to go back to Jessica.
Okay. I was going to ask you guys. I forgot what it was.
And Jessica was or where did it go? I lost it again. She was on saying, I feel like I drift away from the person who I want to be, and then I have to fight to get it back. Mm-hmm. And then you asked if she could give examples.
Oh, good. Thanks, Jessica. No, I didn't. I never said that.
Okay.
And gaslighting.
Then she said,
did you see that?
She said, I feel like there are certain things that cause me to not feel important or good in my own skin. And then said, self-alignment state, feeling fades, disconnected, it makes it hard to get back to alignment again.
That disconnect can, and I think that's, I appreciate that too, because what can be so...
There's one more.
Okay.
I feel, that's right.
Yeah.
I feel like the world around me is not made for me. Like, people in their own world all the time and don't acknowledge me.
Okay, that's true. What do you guys think about that?
I feel like I'm feeling things.
Okay.
Like,
well, because that part, can you read that again, Sid? Because...
Just the last part. I feel like the world around me is not made for me. Like, people in their own world all the time and don't acknowledge me. I feel like that's when, like, selfishness is, like, a bad thing.
Okay.
Right?
Well, and this is where I think often there's, I kind of like in my mind, I call it this, for lack of a better word, this societal or family template of this is the way things are supposed to be. And so the people maybe like Jessica that have other interests and other beliefs and other thoughts and hopes and dreams feel like they don't fit in because they don't fit into that societal template. But that's okay. But I think that too often the people that don't fit that template are not, they don't speak up or they don't really have a voice, or so they do feel like what's wrong with me or nobody really understands me, and they're out because, and okay, I guess now I like that we're saying this, I get to talk to people who feel that way. Mm-hmm. And so then I often think, I think, man, I wish I could just match people up in my practice because there's so many people that are feeling similar things.
Yeah, but then feel like
and they're trying to show up a certain way to fit in with society.
Well, and it feels like, because I relate to what you're saying, it feels like we're not in the majority because that kind of behavior isn't, like, praised in our society. Like, in our society, it's like, you're praised if you're aggressive and if you're, like firm and, like, I don't know, if you're selfish, really.
Yeah,
like,
the bad version of it, right?
Win a lot of the time. And so, like, other people who don't feel like that don't speak up, and it's like, but I genuinely feel like we hopefully are the majority, but like
I don't know though.
So much more.
Yeah.
I feel like
there's so many more good people around than we think there are.
Yeah.
They're just not the ones that are speaking up because they don't, need to be famous or need to be heard.
Yeah. Well, that's what you've brought awareness said to me of when we get a video that really goes well, that then almost the little communities that form in the comments even, where people feel seen and understood. And I have clients of mine that they've found their community in like comments on videos or in apps.
Well, and I think the thing is, realistically, if you look at a lot of those people that you're saying maybe do like fit that template or do things aggressively or do like whatever we're saying that majority is, there's a good chance that you don't actually want to be like those people. Yeah. If that's fair. Yeah. And so it's like the fact that it's maybe not the majority and maybe it feels like you're the only one feeling that way. That's not a bad thing. I feel like if anything, that's more props to you for living in your own world and doing your own thing, because that's like your journey and that's what life is supposed to be. It's not supposed to just be follow this template, do everything the same as everybody else.
Totally, which is it's almost like the easier way out.
But it does feel, it can feel lonely, or you can feel isolated, or like you are the only one in that position. But then what you're saying as being the therapist, it's like, just note that
there's plenty of people out there like that.
There's so many people, they're just not
you have to do more
vocal
work
about it or being super loud about it or making it known that they also feel that way. But like you're saying, plenty of people that feel that way.
Yeah, and I think, again, not to go off on a tangent here, but this is why I can't stand, and you guys can speak to this, but the online dating world these days. Because I got to do my bit. You got 3 pictures, one by a waterfall, one with a golden retriever, and you got a bandana, and then holding your niece or nephew, and a clever movie quote. And there's your profile. This is who I am. And that's just ridiculous, because it's hard to then say these are the things I really like or don't like, so that people can then connect at a better level initially. And then I think people go into their dates and they are like thinking, it goes back to, who do I need to be right now to get this person to like me? Right. So neither person is being very...
What a horrible way to have to live your life.
Horrible.
And I'm saying that as somebody who did that for years.
Same.
And like would just cater to whatever person or whatever group of people I was with, because I felt like I had to fit that mold or show up in a certain way. And it's so much more freeing, and you grow so much more when you just live your life as who you are. Yeah, because then you're playing that game of where somebody is saying, do you like this kind of movie? And you're like, oh man, do you like it? Like, if you like it, I like it. Yeah, versus saying, it's no, I think it's crazy. It's which is okay. It's great to have an opinion, and it's great to have conversations and not just live the life you think everybody needs you to live. Which goes back to, I need to think that I'm fitting this template so I'm normal, air quote. Right. And so the person that is really... in a sense, the people that are fitting the template being normal are just being fake. Absolutely. That's not to be rude, but it's like, there's a whole thing there. Well, there is, because I think maybe that's too why I can get the most, air quote, again, normal looking person in my office who then will let me know the things that they really wish they could do, the kind of person that they would like, the shows they watch. But then they're saying, and I love this phrase, they're like, I mean, I know I shouldn't. What is she? Just scratching the floor. Just scratching the carpet. Okay, I mean, there's like a dead body under there or something? Like under the foundation of the house? Oh, remember that was always my bit when the dogs would come in? I'm like, what's that, girl? Somebody's in danger? Yeah. And you guys never laughed.
Sid.
You were scared. Hey, wait.
I like to laugh when you say things that aren't funny sometimes.
Okay.
Jessica said, I feel like when I don't fit the template, I don't feel aligned.
Yeah. Oh,
So I feel like there's a shift there,
Jessica.
though, in the mindset that can happen, which I don't. You're the therapist, so take that away.
Okay,
but-
it's a great one because the fact that you're aware of that, we moved from one of my favorites. Didn't know what I didn't know. Now I know, but I don't know what to do, and it's one of the most difficult and challenging and places you will be in the longest on your growth to becoming more emotionally mature.
And growing is uncomfortable, so it's
super
going
uncomfortable.
to be uncomfortable, and then that all goes back to then feeling like that's when you fall back from the person you're trying to be. Like,
it does.
Yes,
you know
it
this
all
one well,
checks
right?
out.
So
Yeah.
Jessica, so right now it feels uncomfortable because you're aware, and that awareness though is part of the process of becoming. So now that you're aware, you will, like Mackie says, probably have these moments where you revert back to wishing you didn't even know and just trying to figure out, how do I need to do this, or who do I need to be?
Because now you have to be uncomfortable, but that's to grow and to heal and to do good things.
Oh, growth.
So it's worth it, but it's uncomfy.
So growth comes through the discomfort, and the more that you are recognizing and then finding out what you really like, who you are, the things you care about, the fact you're aware of it, again, it will be uncomfortable because you'll start to feel like other people aren't that way around me. But the more you're doing and being, the more you will start to, you will find little bits and pieces of people that maybe have similar interests that you never would have known had you not recognized, I don't like the person I'm trying to be.
Right.
And then eventually you start to interact with those people. And now we move from I didn't know what I didn't know to now I know, but I'm not sure what to do. I don't do it very often. This is super uncomfortable, to, okay, well, that was nice. Now I kind of do it more than I don't, but I jump back into I'm still not sure what to do.
And that's okay. That's human.
Yep.
That's
And eventually
normal,
you find your way in that third box here of like, now I'm kind of doing more than I didn't before.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just become, you found your people. You are good. When people tell you that they don't like the way that you do or say things, you say, that is so adorable. Tell me what you don't like about me, because I'm curious, because I'm good.
And I think in that you'll end up feeling aligned with like your true self. So even though it feels maybe like it's the opposite of that, right now
you are on your journey.
Permanent. That's basically just a sign that you're doing something right.
Yeah, again,
honestly.
growth comes from discomfort. And okay, run down this almost every time I can. We are wired to avoid discomfort, and we seek certainty. Continually, we want to know. I want to know if this is the right thing to do, because if it is, then I'll do it. Well, the reality is you don't know if it's the right thing to do or not till you start doing it. And then the unfortunate part is often then we want to ask other people, do you think this is the right thing for me to do? Even though that's somebody else other than me that doesn't even know what it feels like to be me and why I'm doing the things I'm doing.
Okay, wait. She said, wait, did you say revert to who I think I need to be? I think we were saying you revert back to basically the template.
Yeah.
Basically who you think other people want you to be, not who you are actually trying to be. It's normal to take like
a step. I would say it's like this is the good version, the cliche 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah, it's part of it's not linear. It's part of that process.
Yeah.
But reverting back to, I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. So
the person you don't want to be, basically.
Yeah, we'll still go back there because it's easier to go back to this
and
place.
And that's what you've known for however long, and so it's like it's not just you can't just flip a switch.
I mean, and I'll say, 10 years in the computer software industry, I go back to night school, I get my master's in counseling, and I start becoming a therapist, and it was so awkward that I kept going back into the computer industry thinking, okay, maybe the therapy thing was actually a bad idea. You know, and then I do it again.
You're like your default setting in a way.
And then all of a sudden it was like, no, I like this, and all of a sudden I would have some client or some case where I thought, well, who am I? What am I doing? And then I'm back to, you know what? It was nice to get my master's, and maybe I'll write a book someday, and I'll have some letters by my name, but I'm going back to the computer industry. But at that point, that's not who I was for sure. And so then, but then eventually, then I'm the therapist now, and I don't ever go back to the computer industry. And then eventually that just becomes, and I just am, and now that process is. Now if somebody's trying to tell me they don't think, because early on when I would tell people I'm being a therapist, somebody would say, I don't know if I believe in therapy, and I would spend 20 minutes trying to defend therapy, like for Mr. Therapist. I don't know. Yeah. Now if they say I don't know if I believe in it, I'm like, okay.
Okay, do what you want.
Yeah. But when you eventually need it, then I might be full. Mean of me.
Do you remember Skylar from last time?
Yeah, I do.
She said, hey, just letting you guys know I'm probably going to leave my boyfriend. I thought we fixed it. He's just not supportive consistently, and he tells me I gaslight him, and I act like a narcissist. Skylar, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, Skylar, I remember you well.
The right thing.
Yeah, I think you made the whole show last time. And what's wild about that is almost I can still remember that one of the first times I did a podcast episode on gaslighting, and there were 2 women I was working with at the time that were in narcissistic or emotionally immature relationships, and they sent the podcast to their immature partners, who literally within about 2 hours, because both of the women texted me, both the guys said, "Oh yeah, that's exactly what you're doing to me." And it's projection. I mean, and what it is when you express yourself to somebody that is immature, they know the buttons to press to get you to react. And so this is the part where you need to know that you're okay. And that when you say, well, this is how I feel, this is what I think you're doing, it's almost inevitable. I call it parroting, that they're going to go, well, oh, that's exactly what you do. And now I'm going to defend myself. But in reality, this is where if you can be curious, well, tell me more. Give me some examples. I don't have to. You're just doing
let
it.
them take the call
Yeah,
out
because
like that.
they're just throwing that up against it. But Skylar, well done. I mean, that's hard though. But well
it's
done.
so hard, but I think that it'll be a thing. Like a couple, like maybe even 6 months, a year from now, whatever. It's like you'll look back and be like, I know when I left my bad relationship, and I'm not saying that this is exactly what happened, but literally it was like 2 weeks, and I like snapped out of it.
Yeah.
And then kind of realized how bad the relationship was and how much better I was on my own. And it it was just crazy to feel okay again and be like, oh, I actually can.
But like we said,
be by myself.
It's time.
And but it could, and it's like, then you'll still, I mean, years go by and you still maybe will have things that come up or whatever, but it's like, it will ultimately be better.
Skylar, if you can reach out to me at contact@tonyoverbay.com and just tell me that this is who you are, and then I'll send you a handful of podcasts I think will help. Some things about trauma bonds, some things about this differentiation in immature relationships, and those are things that maybe you can go to if you're starting to ruminate or worry or start to wonder, feel bad about yourself.
How can I get my wife back? We've been separated for some time now. I fell off the wagon and I destroyed everything we built, and she says she needs space to heal.
Okay, thank you.
Respectfully, she needs space to heal. And the best thing you can do is give her that space.
It's hard though, and this is so hard because I feel that pain. I work with a lot of men as a male therapist, and this is a part of the population I do work with often where the person, he says he fell off the wagon again. And so I know he's already feeling bad about that because every person that is struggling with any kind of unhealthy coping mechanism, I really believe that when they say I'm never doing it again, they believe they won't ever do it again until they do.
The intention there is good.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But then if your wife is finally saying I've had enough, if you are now begging her to take you back, you're asking her in essence to mother you, to then be your emotional caretaker. And that's something that she's probably felt like she's been doing for a long time. And so as difficult as it is, like Mackie's saying, if she's saying this is what I need, if she's
asking for the time to heal, you need to give her the time to heal and then go from there. I'm saying keep doing your thing.
Well, that is it, but it's like...
and keep doing your thing and take the time to continue to work on the things that you feel
you can't sit there and just ruminate and worry. You have to go to therapy. If you're find a support group, you have to do the work right now, because that's the thing that will then allow you to deal with your own discomfort, and that is what is going to, if there's a chance to have her feel more safe around you. Yeah.
If there's potential for you guys to come back together. Yeah,
there has to be
It's only going to happen if she gets her space to heal and you continue to do the good things. Yeah. And then, I mean, not if that's not what's meant to be in the end, then at least you've both been doing the work and you will have continued to heal and get back to yourself and then find what is meant for you. Yeah.
And get back in the wagon.
Yeah, stay in the wagon.
Cute and comfortable.
Why does nobody ever talk about getting back in a wagon?
Get back in the wagon.
Okay, true story. When I was in Tennessee, I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I'll never forget this to this day. I'm pulling this little kid. His first name was Blue. My mom and dad have told me that this is an accurate memory. I'm pulling him around in a wagon. I dump the wagon. He falls out. I run home because I think I'm in trouble. Found out later he broke his arm, but he was little. I don't think he could talk.
You just left him there?
My goodness.
Yeah. I think my parents knew, though. I think they ended up talking to Blue's parents and stuff, but I just...
Blue never walked again.
Oh.
Okay, wait. Quick. Jessica wants good books about psychology. Just go top 3 that come to mind.
I mean, Happiness Trap by Russ Harris. It's one of the best books to start with acceptance and commitment therapy. I bought copies for both my daughters, and I'm sure that they're deep into them by now.
14 pages!
Sid?
That title looks real good.
Never do that again.
Never do that again. But start there from an acceptance and commitment therapy point of view. I think that's really important. I'm trying to think of there's a lot.
What's the confidence one you do?
The confidence gap. I mean, that's similar. It's the same author.
Okay.
My first thought is just it's any of the acceptance and commitment therapy books because I just
really
think you
Happiness
need
Trap is
just start with
there.
Happiness Trap, and honestly, same. Email me when you're done with Happiness Trap, and then we'll talk. And I will get a list. I should get a book club list together.
Yeah.
Because there's some really good ones about internal family systems and no bad parts, and then
So it's like I feel like it depends, on what you're...
there's good
what
couples
you're
therapy ones that
specifically
like
looking for.
there's a lot.
The Happiness Trap is a great start.
I will.
And if you're like me and you never learned how to read, they have one with pictures, don't they?
They
Yeah,
do.
they do.
The Simple Happiness Trap book.
It's nice.
Which you took offense to though when I got it to you, right?
Yeah, because I was like 20 and you're like, here's this picture book for you.
Okay.
21.
Okay.
22.
Wait.
You're almost
not-
23.
Oh, you are?
Literally in a couple days.
Okay, but here's the thing though. Look at you like, I was so offended you gave me this picture book.
No, I
even
think I
though
was
you've
offended.
never read the book.
I did. I read like more than half of it from the picture book.
Okay.
And
I
then
like how
never
passionate
read
you are
it.
about that. I read almost half the comic book,
I
old
did.
man.
Give me some
It
credit.
changed my life, right?
Maybe it did.
Maybe.
Okay, any thoughts on setting healthy boundaries with someone that keeps crossing them?
Yeah, okay, let's do this one. This is good. Boundary versus ultimatum. First, check what your version of a boundary is. If you are saying you can't do that anymore to the person, you are handing them your buttons to push. If you're saying, hey, you can't raise your voice like that, I need you to not do that in front of the kids anymore, then the first time that they get mad and they want to try to put you in that one down position, then they know that is the button to push. So a boundary versus ultimatum. Ultimatum is you can't do that, you need to stop doing that. Boundary is if you do that, then I will leave. It's a me thing, and that's the most powerful thing to learn about a boundary. Now, when you're setting
I think
boundaries,
it's deep though, because I think initially you would think it's the other way around, and
Yeah.
that's what tripped me up at first
Oh,
when I was
right.
learning about boundaries.
Yeah.
Because you think of an ultimatum, and that's typically a
like you,
if
and I
this,
told
then
them you
this.
can't do that
Yeah.
anymore, and I'm sitting there thinking the narcissist is like, oh sure I can.
Right.
Yeah, really? Like you don't think I can do that? I'll do it. I'll do it in
yeah.
10 minutes from now.
But the boundary
Yeah.
is basically turning it back to you.
It's a you
in
thing.
the healthiest way, where it's like, this is how I can handle this, and this is how I can show up in this
Yeah.
sense, and then almost leaving it open for them to then respect that or not.
Yeah. And then boundary, and know that whether you set it in a good way or a bad way, the person that, if you are in a position in your relationship where you're trying to figure out how to set boundaries, they will be pushed. Just know that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the calling card of the emotionally immature, is that if you have a boundary, they know what to do with that. I know how to knock this thing down and put you in the one down position. So it's almost like they're saying, please give me a boundary, because I will push and push and push that.
So you're handing them a list of...
Yeah, but it
here's
doesn't
how
mean
you
that it's
can
the
do
wrong.
that.
It's the right thing to
No,
do.
yeah. But just know that there's probably going to be pushback, and that's part of it. But
And then honestly, I think about this all the time too. Where think through your boundary, because make sure it's something that you are willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
You watch parents do this all the time with kids, like, and it's so funny. If you do that one more time, we're not going to Disneyland. And it's like, you're going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
You have non-refundable tickets.
so now you're just showing your kid
That
you
like
actually can get away with whatever you want.
yeah
So
yeah. I mean
yeah, so you do have to stand by it if
Absolutely.
you're going to put it in place.
yeah, and because then again, knowing that they'll push and push. Yeah.
Okay, we need to speed run some stuff here.
Okay, let's do. Oh yeah, and then we'll wrap it up. Right. Instead, watch out for the puzzle on the TikTok screen.
Wait, was the book called The Happiness Trap?
Yeah,
Yeah.
by Russ Harris.
Okay.
The Happiness Trap. Yeah.
Are trauma bonds a theory?
No.
No.
I go again. This is one of those Google Waking Up to Narcissism, my name, and Trauma Bond. I know I have 2 episodes on it for sure, but the concept of intermittent reinforcement, that is the fancy name for Trauma Bond, and it is where the person that gives you the reward also delivers you the punishment. And it's a trip because it's the way we train like animals and stuff, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Where okay, here's a treat, and then also get angry with the person. So then what they just want that treat so bad. And when you look at the concept of intermittent reinforcement, that it hits the same area of the brain like a drug. And so you watch people that when that narcissist or emotionally mature withdraws from the relationship and pulls back their attention or their affection, it leaves that other person craving it from them. And so then they'll do whatever they can to get that to get that attention. So very real, very real.
Okay, back to Thomas. He's 5 months sober.
Whoa,
That's
nice.
incredible.
That's big.
Like, really, that's huge.
Yeah.
I hope you're giving yourself props for that, because that really is
Yeah.
huge. And then he said he's confused because she says he doesn't call her. So maybe it's time to open up a conversation then with, like, I think it's fair of you to ask for at least a conversation and approach it as, I want to give you the space to heal, and almost ask her for her boundaries in a sense. How can you show up? Or how can both of you show up in a way that you'll both be okay with? I think that would be fair.
So if I'm working with you, Thomas, for example, because I've got 2 or 3 Thomases currently, and so we're working on them to stay present, to do the work that they're doing. We talk a lot about differentiation, where you're trying to have a strong but flexible sense of self, not needing somebody else to tell you who you are. You got to do some really good work on learning how to self-soothe or calm your own anxiety. That'll lead to a grounded response. I need to be able to stay grounded, not get too angry or loud, and not play small. And that's what we're talking about right now. Because when you start to realize, okay, I'm okay. I've got 5 months of sobriety. I know. That's the part where I know I'm okay. I know that I'm in a good position. Then I'm not going to play small either. And then the 4th point of balance of differentiation is it is growth through discomfort. I'm taking ownership of my stuff, not projecting it on my spouse, which maybe I did when I was more immature. And so when you can come from this differentiated place, now you can ask for things in the relationship, because now I'm not doing it to be manipulative, coercive, controlling, or just to get validation. Now I know that this is what I think would be best for me, and I think that we could make this work, So now I'm putting that out there. Now it has to be, though, this is the key, it does have to be a little bit more outcome independent. So I'm saying it, but she still has the right to say, I'm still not ready.
Right, like I feel like it's opening up a conversation, so neither of you are in the dark thinking.
Yeah,
so that
I'm
she's
waiting.
not sitting there waiting for you to call, and you're sitting there fighting not to call because you're trying to respect that.
This is a tough spot to be, though. A lot of the guys I work with one-on-one, this is what we're dealing with, because then you can come from this differentiated place and reach out and say, hey, I would love to know if we can begin couples therapy now, or I would like to be able to just talk once a week and we can talk about just logistics or just things that are unrelated to the marriage, or but if she says I don't want to, this is where being grounded comes into play. So it's okay for her to not want to. As a matter of fact, I would imagine that's one of those situations where she's probably testing a little bit for safety, because if I freak out, then I'm not safe, and that means I'm not differentiated, I'm not grounded, and I can't calm my own anxiety. And that's why I say that that's the work that you have to do when you're working on yourself. Because if I now show up and I'm now saying I'm ready, and all it takes is for her to say, I don't know if I am, and then you get upset, then you did not do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
But that is a tough spot.
Yeah. So I hope you're working with somebody that knows what they're doing as well. That'd be helpful.
Ready?
Yeah.
My husband won't... Wait, did you guys read this one?
Wait, no, but can you pause for 2 seconds?
Of course.
Jessica, the Virtual Couch is his main podcast.
Yeah.
And then he also has Waking Up to Narcissism. And then we have one together called The Mind, the Mirror, and Me. But if you look up Tony Overbay.
Yeah, and Virtual Couch, that'll start.
But the Virtual Couch is the biggest. Like, that's his main.
Yeah, and then Sydney and I had 5 episodes of Murder on the Couch that did phenomenally well.
Yeah.
And then we never did a 6th.
So, there's that. Lots of episodes to catch up on. But anyways.
There's 600 episodes, actually. Yeah, free therapy.
Pretty much.
Okay, Sid.
My husband won't forgive me for small things, and I forgive him for big things. I feel like there was more. Oh, and his only excuse to all of it is feeling like I don't respect him. Sounds like he doesn't respect you.
Amen. Well said, Sid. That stuff, okay, admittedly, maybe it's just late Sunday night talking, but I mean, that is the sign of the immature. And I know that I don't know what their situation is, but this is the population I work with. And again, if he can project that I don't like... I won't let you get away with these small things. So you are now in that one down position, and now you are trying to prove yourself for all of these little small things that are fairly insignificant when you know that you are willing to forgive the bigger things. And it goes back to that, the emotionally immature person will just diffuse their discomfort, their anxiety, their immaturity into the relationship, and that pathologically kind person, you, will then pick that up, and I'll take it and I'll metabolize it, and then I will figure out what to do with it. And meanwhile, he's just back to doing whatever it is that he wants to do. So,
Missionaries married very young, grew up in 2 different cultures. That's what she said.
Oh.
That's like an addition.
Oh, for that. Oh, that's...
I believe, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that adds another layer to it.
It does. I mean, again, just especially, did she say young? Married young?
Yeah.
Married young.
Okay.
Very young.
That part, I go back to what we started with tonight. I'm going to get my hand puppets out here. So we're 2 people, and we get married, and we're codependent, and we're enmeshed, because we just, when we first get to know each other, we're just agreeing on everything. We could have completely different tastes, styles, likes, dislikes, But and I believe, again, from a good place, it goes back to if I say I don't like scary movies, and then she wants to date me, if she'll say, yeah, I kind of don't like him either, even if she loves him, because then she's thinking, I don't know, maybe this isn't a big deal. Or so you just you compromise on a lot of things because it just feels like the relationship's so good. Then you start going through life, and now you experience things, kids, finances, moving, careers, loss, all those. And those are the first time you're experiencing those situations as an adult, and then they are giving you feelings and emotions. And now when you try to communicate that to your person, and you're codependent and you're enmeshed, you're starting to try to have your experience, and that makes this person feel insecure, or their immaturity comes out, and then they say things like, the death by 1,000 cuts stuff. They're gonna now criticize you, and now you're gonna, okay, you're right, and go back into this enmeshment. Because what we're supposed to do is become differentiated, which is where one person ends, the other begins. But in the middle of that, it's going to be a fair amount of invalidation for a while. So that immature person is going to continually try to get you back into enmeshment, because that's what they feel. That now they feel whole because they now can, they're enmeshed and they can put you in that one down position. But what we're trying to do is become two completely interdependent, differentiated people that have different experiences, of course, especially different. They're different genders. They're different, maybe different, come from different places.
Yeah, different cultures.
Yeah,
so
of course they're going to have different thoughts and feelings and opinions, and so it's the ability to be able to respect those and to really express those that is going to really cause. I mean, it's going to help a couple be real intimacy is having the courage to know to be known by somebody else and to know that person. That takes a lot of courage because it's really uncomfortable. Okay, how many more you want to do?
We can just do a speed run real quick and
then
Going into therapy, are we allowed to tell what the other person has done and said to us, or do we just speak about what we have done?
That's a great question. I'm fine. I want all the data, and I think that this is one of those. I think it's I want to just throw it into the more comfortable or competent the therapist is, the more that they can hold space for all of that information. I think it's a good therapist that is going to let you bring in whatever you want to bring in, especially early on in therapy. And if you're going to come in and you want to just be heard about what you want to say about the other person, then who am I to say you can't do that?
Right. So in a sense, it's whatever you need.
It really. I'm very comfortable with that.
And that'll lead to other.
I know, that's right.
Like, I feel like it'll all you'll end up doing both things.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that if a therapist hears this and they say, I think that's wrong, it's like, no problem. I mean, I can understand why one would. But it's where I want to start from a place of there's no wrong way to do therapy, especially initially when you're coming in. Because if it takes a lot of courage to go to therapy. So if you're going to go in there and feel like you're not doing it right, that's the therapist's issue. Like, I need you to do it this way to make me feel better.
Yeah, your first job, I guess, is just to show up.
Yeah.
This girly or boy has been commenting a lot, so I want to help them out. Okay, I'm 34, been in my relationship for 13 years, married for 6, so I need help.
Okay.
Going into therapy, are we allowed to tell what the other person has done and said to us?
Oh, we just answered
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
Oh, you just answered that specific part.
Do we just speak about what we have done? Okay, and then she said, why is the adult still immature? I mean, I know we're all like that in ways, but full-blown. And she also asked, can someone who's emotionally immature become more mature?
Sure.
And
why are we, though? It's because we weren't modeled emotional maturity.
Go
ahead, Sid.
He sits in denial and deflection.
Yeah, and that's like, this is all so.
Jessica's leaving. Bye, Jessica.
Oh, bye, Jessica. This is all normal. I want to tell this person this is so normal, and I'm not saying that in a way of like, please, don't worry about it. But just you're okay. You're normal, and the reason I say that we're all immature until we're not is because we are. Because we even have blind spots. I can think that I'm becoming more emotionally mature, and one that I've honestly been, and I think you guys are starting to hear it in the family more. But I'm realizing I'm 55. I have a horrible relationship with money and finances, because I don't believe I was necessarily modeled it well. And I'm not saying that my parents, because they worked hard, they struggled, they made more of themselves than I think they ever would have imagined. But I just don't think we ever learned we didn't communicate about it very openly. So I didn't grow up knowing how to budget or, all those kind of things. And so it's always just been, okay, we'll just do whatever we want, and I'll try to work harder and make more, and to maybe my own detriment. I only mention that because that's an area that I realize now, my immaturity. Because I can tell myself that I don't know. I'm not good with money. That's an immature response.
Yeah.
Because I can go figure that out. That's like emotionally mature. Or if and I think that's the part where we're all emotionally immature, because there's so many things that we don't know, and that we don't know that we don't know, and we're unwilling to ask for help. And the immature way to show up with that is just to say, that isn't me. Or what we'll also say is, I could project, my immaturity and say that, okay, anybody that does well financially, they just got a lucky break. Or anybody that is good at saving money, well, they probably have like OCD or something. I could do all those things from an immature standpoint. So becoming more emotionally mature is learning about who I am and how I show up in things, and what I do to get rid of my discomfort, and accepting the things that I know and the things that I don't know that I don't know. And so that's that whole process of becoming more mature. So there's probably places that there's blind spots for everybody of things.
Dennis is learning how to budget at 54.
Oh, you got me beat by a year. I can't even say I'm really learning how yet. I think I've been using this example for 6 months now, so I need to actually do it.
Okay, are there stages of grief after infidelity?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like 100%.
Yeah, that's a tough. We should do a
You're
whole.
basically losing the person or losing the version of the person you.
That's a good way to put it.
Thought you knew, or thought you were with, or. Because they're doing something you never thought they would do.
Yeah, we need to do a whole night on this one, because I do. Yeah. I mean, because the world of betrayal trauma is really interesting. I would recommend, if you go on the virtual couch, I did an episode of a podcast with one of my associates, Marla Christensen, and Marla is a therapist. She just became a therapist recently. She was in a really unhealthy relationship. She's very open about this, and then I think we have a really strong conversation around the concepts of betrayal trauma, because no one ever thinks they're going to find themselves in that situation to begin with. And so when people get into relationships, they often just say, if that happened to me, I'm out.
Yeah.
But then when that happens, there's so many more variables, and then it's just not that easy. And so I just think that needs a lot of work with somebody that knows how to help somebody through betrayal trauma. Yeah. Oh, that scared me to death. Okay, so I'll just tell you. Let me speed run this really quick, because what I do in my couples therapy when there's betrayal is the person wants to come in, and typically the person that has been betrayed they want answers. They want to know. They want just to know everything. And I feel so strongly about this, that they're thinking, okay, if I can just hear everything, then I'll know, and then that will make me feel better, and I can move on. But then the person that has done the betraying already feels really pretty bad, most likely. I mean, I always say there's 75% that are really like, oh no, what did I do? 25% that are like, look, I said I'm sorry. That's a you thing. That's not the good version, by the way. And so the person that's done the betraying, I think so often they're trying to almost forget about it themselves, and they do this thing that's called a staggered disclosure. So they tell their spouse a little bit of what happened, and then their spouse just says, I need more, I need more, I need more, and finally they're like, okay, here's more. And so they're setting up this staggered disclosure. Mm-hmm. And so when I get a couple in my office, then I immediately say, we have to press pause, because I guarantee that you guys don't know how to communicate effectively, because most of us don't anyway. So we got to stop. We're going to use my 4 pillars of a connected conversation. We're going to learn about differentiation. We're going to kick the can of disclosure down the road a little bit, because the people need to learn how to communicate first, because it is that lack of communication and that lack of connection that most likely played a role in where they're at now, which can seem really invalidating at first for the person that was betrayed, but we'll get there. So please find help for betrayal trauma. Yeah, anything else?
Peter, I'm like 2 more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Crazy Lens is asking a question, but I missed. Do you know what the first part is? I don't know what the first part was, so I just have to repeat it. But it's something about being scared to drive again. I think maybe she said something about an accident.
Like 2 weeks ago, and she says she keeps having nightmares about it, and she's really scared.
For sure.
To get back on the road.
I would recommend finding like a trauma-related therapy. So I do a little bit of EMDR. Okay. And so there are certain types of EMDR, or it's called our accelerated resolution therapy, or brain mapping, or brain spotting, or there's some of these things that work a little more with trauma, and not just not just talk therapy. Right? And this is where I learned. This is why I finally embraced things like EMDR. Talk therapy is amazing, and it works because as you're talking through things out loud to somebody that isn't just your friend or family member. Because your friend or family member is probably going to say, whoa, why'd you do that? Or I would have done this. And so then our brain goes back to, this is not safe for me to talk about. So just talk therapy in general, as you're talking through scary things, because we leave things in our head, they go scary. It's kind of our default. And then the person that is hearing you is empathizing, and it does help. So that helps over time. EMDR is a fascinating thing, and I will get this wrong, but this is my memory of how it works. is that, okay, when you're a little kid, you're walking forward and your eyes are scanning left, right for safety. You're trying to see, am I going to trip on anything, or is there something coming at me? And over time, you do that long enough and your brain skips some steps and says, okay, if your eyes are moving left, right, then you must be safe. So I'm drawing a blank on the lady's name, Francine Shapiro. A long time ago, had a hypothesis that then, all right, so if I can get you to look left, right, then your brain will stop.
Oh, EMDR is the...
Yeah, that's the left, right stuff. So there are people that do...
it works.
Yeah, I mean, I do it.
Yeah.
I've got it. I do it in my office in California.
Like I had a client that changed her life.
Yeah, and a lot of first responders do it. I worked with before I did EMDR, I worked with a first responder who they saw some pretty bad things at train tracks, and then they couldn't cross them themselves, and then they went and did 2 or 3 sessions of EMDR, and they were able to do that. Because then what you're able to do is you're able to talk through it while your brain is saying we're safe,
Yeah.
and then it helps you be more calm when you are experiencing one of those situations.
So what would you recommend if she can't afford therapy right now?
Oh, the main thing I would do is honestly goodness, Google low cost therapy near me, because I know near my office in Sacramento, one of my favorite people, Darlene Davis, my sensei, she has a called Hope Counseling Center. And I mean, they have people that are doing it for darn near free or look for sliding scale therapy near you, because anybody that's coming out of school needs their internship hours. And I'm not saying that means they're bad therapists. I think a good therapist is called to be a therapist, and they're good in the chair or they're not good in the chair. And so you can find some amazing therapists that will take sliding scale payments for $5-10, that sort of thing. So maybe even some that will do free. So before you think that all your options are shot because you can't afford it, please look for it and look for a sliding scale or a nonprofit around you. And honestly, if you aren't even sure what to do or how to do that, email me at contact@tonyoverbay.com and let me know where you live, and I'll see if I can find somebody, pull a string or two if I can. Yeah.
Did we answer stars?
What stars?
Because we talked to her last time, so I wanted to
okay.
talk to her again.
What did you say?
She said, "Hi again, I'm done with my husband's yelling and disrespect. I'm stuck because I'm a stay-at-home mom." And then moving further down, she said, "Oh, any conversation I try to have with him, he is defensive and I pity him." It just says pity him, but I think maybe she meant I pity him.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, okay. So, and start, I mean, it takes a lot of courage to start to acknowledge that this isn't a relationship I want to be in. But as a stay-at-home mom, I think so often that's just a difficult place, because he
wants pity.
Oh, he wants pity.
Sorry.
And that is we'll talk about this down the road, but man, that's where a guy I'm just going to go in this scenario where the guy is, he just wants her to feel bad. And he thinks that's a way that then it will make him feel better. And it might make him feel better. But again, he just diffused all of his stuff onto her and saying, you deal with it, make me feel better. And it leaves her just feeling hollow and feeling unseen and unconnected. But the stay-at-home mom, that's tough, because they can be stuck. They can be stuck financially. They can be stuck. And so I know this is not going to sound very empowering right now, but this is where we go back to what we were saying earlier. Self-care is not selfish, and self-care can be just starting to listen to podcasts or starting to read books and just to start to dream and put your life together, because it kind of goes a little bit into the woo-woo, like the manifestation kind of things, that if you're not even thinking about how to get out of an unhealthy relationship or what's a career that I might have down the road, then it's definitely not going to happen. And I've worked with enough people that whether it has been a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road, where then things just start to fall in place when you're starting to just recognize that I'm not going to continue to play the games. I am living through 1,000 cuts, and so actually, if you haven't done this already, reach out to me. And I have a private women's Facebook group for women who are in relationships with emotionally immature or narcissistic partners, and that is a great source of support. And
just side note,
yeah.
Jessica just commented, "I left after 10 years and it was the best decision I ever made. My kids and I are so much happier."
Wow, Jessica K.
And I think that's in the group. That's maybe some of the things
yeah. So reach out to me if you're
people to lean on and that are going through similar things.
For real.
Big.
And there are lots of people in that private group that just sit on the sidelines.
And then she said, "Met a kind, gentle man that loves my kids like his own. Please know you will find someone."
Oh, that's nice. Thanks, Jessica. Yeah.
And then this person is going to message you once the group.
Good. Please do.
I'm gonna screenshot every question that we didn't get to, so
Yeah.
we can have questions to start for next time.
Okay. And
This one I really want you to answer.
Okay.
Last one.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's Emma again. So
Okay.
She's like, sorry to ask another question, but how do I confront my husband about respecting me too? He thinks he has no reason to respect me.
Oh.
I don't respect him, but I'm trying so hard.
Okay, but if he... Oh, gosh.
Right? I mean, she needs help.
Well, I go... Okay, now I'm just wanting everybody to contact me. But, Emma, will you also email me at contact@tonyoverbay.com? Remind me about this.
What's your email again?
Contact@tonyoverbay.com.
Okay.
Because I really want to send you a couple podcast episodes on differentiation. Because one of the first points of balance of being differentiated is not needing someone else to do it first, or because his response is so immature, and just the fact he's saying that is cause for you to not have respect for him. Because, and I'm gonna jump over to the side for a second. One of my favorite therapists, and I like to call her friend Jennifer Finlayson-Fife, says so often that when a guy will say, well, I want her to desire me, then she'll say, well, be desirable then. And I love that concept, because it's the same thing. If I want her to respect me, well, then be respectful and be someone who is worthy of respect. And it is not done by making someone feel small or less than. And so the second that he's saying you don't deserve respect, that is one of the most immature things that he can do. And this is where I will say, I've thought about rewriting this stuff often. There's that concept of polarity, masculine, feminine, in Indian culture, Shiva, Shakti, in Asian, yin, yang. I've called it assertive and nurturing, but I believe it is the job that he needs to provide emotional safety, emotional consistency, emotional maturity, and that needs to be this presence so that she feels safe enough to be able to express herself. And man, we will talk about this another day too, because she doesn't feel safe in the relationship, and that is why right now I think her body is keeping the score when she's like, I don't respect him. It's because her body's saying, yeah, you've tried for as long as you can, and you're betraying yourself now when you're trying to, okay, I'm going to keep trying to respect this person that is not very emotionally safe or stable or present. And so part of the challenge is to start to pull back. I mean, it really is, and not need his validation and know that you're okay. And what's fascinating about that is it's the push and pull, it's the pursuer withdraw dynamic that often when the person in your position does start to withdraw, now all of a sudden, okay, he's now pursuing. And that's almost more signs of the immature. I have so many thoughts on that. I would love to do a whole episode on that.
She'll email you.
Okay, good.
It's like you shouldn't have to do anything to be loved. You shouldn't have to do anything to be respected.
No.
Those are things that you just
you
deserve.
get that just for existing.
Yeah.
But like we were saying earlier with
that take that away.
Exactly. Yeah. And again,
by existing, you get to be loved, and you get to have your worth seen and be valued.
You do.
Period.
Okay. That was fun.
Wait, what's your email?
Contact.
I put it in the thing.
Well, actually, it'd be nice if people would just go to TonyOverbay.com, and you can email me through the contact form. But while you're there, sign up for my newsletter that I don't normally write, but I'm going to, because Sid's going to remind me. Right, Sid?
That's crazy to ask me.
I know. That was kind of funny. Even as I was saying it, I was like, Mackie, can you remind Sid to remind me?
Yeah. Emma, we usually do them Sunday nights. So next Sunday.
And this will be re-uploaded on YouTube, and there's a bunch on YouTube already, and you should definitely check out our YouTube because we're being neglected over there.
Okay, but I have a really funny thing that I'm saying on the one tomorrow, because I'm talking about the comments about HSP, and I'm not trying to do the old humble brag, but I just, for fun, I was laying out that, okay, on TikTok, the one HSP video has like 1.8 million views, and on Instagram it's got like 2.2 million views, and I said, and on YouTube it has 512.
And counting.
And counting. So I mean that, and I just said, okay, but
so
not that I'm bitter about that. I am, yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. Thank you, Mac, for being here. Always, for real. I appreciate you.
Sydney said she'd come next week.
Are you next week, Sid?
Yeah.
Are we doing the three of us? Are you modding, or are we doing the three?
I can mod.
Oh, I forgot I had this thing on my face.
Yeah, quit touching it.
I know, I just wanted to scratch it right there.
Gaping wound.
It's a gaping wound. Alright, don't run into walls. Thanks everybody. Alright, Sid. Cancel that.
Get us out of here.
You're a human, so check that out. You don't know what you don't know. It's what it's all about.